Hello ladies and gentlemen, Freida here. So Ashes of Ariandel has been out for some time now, and while the community is still arguing over the pros and cons of this content, who created some new PvP mechanics got a whole arena mode dedicated to it, while those who expected a new cool story got at least some burning questions answered. But did you know that the painted world of Ariandel was actually already referenced in the vanilla game? No? Well, I found some items that make a lot more sense now that the DLC has been released, so let's have a look. The first two hints can be found among the Corvians scattered around Lothric. The storyteller staff, for example, says that it's the staff of a heretic storyteller who shares tales of the painted world to forlorn souls. The storytellers too are wretched beings with no place to go. While the Great Corvian scythe reads, Great scythe of the forlorn souls guided by heretical storytellers. The mistress of the painted world is said to wield a great scythe herself. The here found keywords painted world, mistress and great scythe could be a legitimate reference to the painted world of Ariamis, which is what I thought prior to the release of the DLC. But in the latter we learn that paintings go through cycles, rotting over time until eventually fire rises and destroys the painting and its inhabitants for the sake of the next one. So it's unlikely that the mentioned painted world is Ariamis, since eons separate the events of the chosen undead from those of the Ashen One, leaving Ariandel and, by extension, Sister Freida as the only possible subjects of those descriptions. This theory is also backed by the use of the word forlorn, which, as you may have noticed, was used quite extensively to describe the inhabitants of Ariandel. In summary, the painted world of Ariandel manages to live in the outside world through the words of the Corvian storytellers, spreading tales and prophecies among the forsaken souls they gather around them. If you're like me, then the first time you arrived in the Untended Graves, you gradually realized that it was some alternative version of the Firelink Shrine. The moment I personally had this epiphany, I ran back to where I knew my grave was, hoping to find myself buried in the tomb as I thought it would be a nice gimmick. But what I eventually found confused me. A group of Corvians praying into my lifeless body? I soon set aside this scene, forgetting about it, but while playing the DLC I finally realized what it meant. They are praying at us because we are the Ashen One, we are the ones who could free Ariandel from its rot. And I don't know about you, but this foresight clearly flashed me. Another reference to the painted world can be found in the description of the notched whip. The cleansing chapel uses whips such as these in order to produce the drops as puddles to wipe clean during its rituals. Personally, this reminded me a lot of this cutscene from the Freida boss fight, in which Ariandel's Lord Vessel appears to absorb Freida's blood. If we then add that the painted world itself was painted and restored with blood, we see how this practice was known and perhaps used by the Cathedral of the Deep. In fact, consider that Gale is a slave knight, a position pertaining to the Way of White which is bound to its duty for eternity. So it would appear as if Gale isn't acting with free will, but is rather following an order he was issued. By whom would be the next question, but I fear we don't have the needed information to solve this riddle. Finally, we may find sense in yet another item description. The Life Hunt Scythe miracle reads that Aldrich dreamt as he slowly devoured the god of the Dark Moon. In this dream, he perceived the form of a young, pale girl in hiding. In my lower analysis about the Cathedral of the Deep, I've already stated how it would make little sense for Yoshka to be this pale girl in hiding, since she was actually Sullivan's prisoner and therefore not hiding in the church tower. In my opinion, this description rather refers to Sister Freida, since she is a pale, young girl who chose freely to seek the painted world, making it her home. This would actually give us some new insight behind the reasons of her abandonment of the Saber Church, since she is referred to as being in hiding. Again, from whom or what stays open to interpretation, but I have a strong feeling that the last DLC might give us the needed information. So that's all I found so far, but perhaps there might be other clues linking the painted world of Ariandel to the vanilla game. But what I realized only after making this video is that perhaps most importantly, there might already be informations about the next DLC in the game, item descriptions or sceneries which on their own make no sense at all. So who knows, maybe with this gained insight we might be able to partially foresee what is yet to come. I hope you liked this little project of mine. I know it was not the usual lore analysis type of video I make, but I felt like a lot of people had already dealt with the DLC, so I wanted to talk about it from another point of view, bringing up other interesting story elements. But fret not, more classical lore videos are planned, so stay tuned for them. Have a nice day, Ashen Ones.